The garment covers, protects, adorns, but well beyond its materiality. It speaks to us almost like a language. A language certainly without words, but with its many references, its hints, its nods that only initiated, who have the knowledge of this language and the context, can fully understand. The clothing communication is social, political, and cultural. In this temple of clothes, the historical and cultural costume occupies a special place. It is a concentrate of meaning with numerous signified, containing a multitude of connotations when analyzed according to diachronic and synchronic approaches. The historical dress is a continuous source of inspiration, first for fashion designer and the fashion industries. A philosopher, Baudrillard, believes that the fashion system itself is based on aesthetic of renewal or infinite recycling. The multiple revivals are linked with a propensity to an eternal return of past forms. It is all impregnated with a sense of déjà vu. The costume is also present in historical movie and in theaters. The designer's mission here is to copy it faithfully. Thanks to the garment, the viewer, the spectator, immerses himself and believes in the story. Finally, the costume can be seen to be reappropriated by individuals or specific social group or subcultures with the intention to convey a message. It could be said that it's an hermeneutic reclamation. This reappropriation is like the interplay of the movement of the tradition and the movement of the wearer. Unconsciously, the wearer reinterprets the history and injects its own meaning. This is the process which will be analyzed today in this talk, supported mainly by a structuralist and semiotic approach. And we will take the example of Frida Kahlo in her Mexican attire with a feminist, self-empowered and nationalist message. June Kim writes, Kahlo often crafts her appearance and public identity to reflect her cultural heritage and political beliefs. The costume will be looked as a sign. According to Saussure, the linguistic, a sign is an arbitrary relation between the signifier, sound image, the material piece of clothing here, and the signified, the concept attached to this piece of clothing. The sign is not a mere object, but creates meaning. Semiotic has been applied to linguistics in order to explain cultural events which carry a meaning. Thus, a specific kind of clothing can relay a meaning related to status, social belonging, nationality, belief, taste, sophistication. The concept, through a synchronic analysis, also generates a meaning which is relationally opposed to something else, like cheap is opposed to expensive and made to mass-produce, natural to synthetic, Western to indigenous. Saussure offers this crucial insight that is relevant here, that concepts have meaning because of relation, and the basic relationship is oppositional. Now let's come to Frida Kahlo and speak a little bit about her biography. She's a Mexican surrealistic painter known for her autoportrait, mainly, born in 1907 from the union of the Mexican Matilde Calderon, from Spanish and Native American descendant from Oaxaca, and Wilhelm Kahlo, German, from Jewish Hungarian origin. It is essential to keep in mind this element for understanding that her identity has been an active search and a choice. Frida always claimed to be born in 1910, the year of the outbreak of the Mexican Communist Revolution, so that people could directly associate her with the modern Mexico. She had a rebellious, anti-conformist personality, proud of her Mexican culture. Against Americanization, until today she is celebrated by the feminist movement. All her life has been a long physical suffering also. Started with the polio contracted at the age of 5 and worsened in 1925 by a bus accident, which caused severe injuries to her body. She went through 32 surgical operations throughout her life, and she died at 47 years old in 1954. Now let's see the clothing and the iconic look that Frida Kahlo built for herself. Very often, Frida wore in real life and in her painting the traditional attire of a Mexican ethnic group, the Zapotec of Tijuana in Oaxaca. The Tijuana, as we can see behind me on the picture, the Tijuana is composed of two pieces, the blouse called the huipil, traditional garment in Mexico and Central America, and a long skirt. The two pieces are generally colorful, heavily adorned. The huipil loose fitting has a short square chain stitch. The fabric could be cotton, satin, velvet, or a mix. The signifier is therefore the skirt and the huipil. Also, the other element linked with the costume, what adorn her hair, the flower which adorn her hair, the shawl, the jewelry. The signified, the concept related to them are indigenous Mexican culture, patriotism, nationalism. The loose-fitting character of the huipil doesn't signify sensuality, but rather a freedom of movement and position, and could suggest a gender statement. Is geometry adorn an absent, thus impenetrable body, an apparent refusal of West brand of feminine seduction, and the masculine gaze it implies, and this has been written by Aragon. Tijuana dress held a privileged place in the iconography of Mexican identity because of its close association with the Zapotec women of Tehuantepec and their allegedly matriarchal community. The costume is acting as a sign and shows that who wears this belongs or supports this culture. The national clothing is a kind of fixed costume which refers constantly to the same. It is generally fixed in time and unchangeable. However, Frida Kahlo didn't wear it as it is. She was mixing it with other elements belonging with European culture or even other culture, and created a kind of fashion bricolage and a specific identity. So now let's see the first painting, Allá cuelga mi vestido en Nueva York. This painting you can see here on the side, on the right side. And Frida made this painting in 1933 while she was living in New York with her husband. It is called There is Hanging My Dress in New York. A Mexican colorful Tijuana dress is hanging in the center of the painting and personifies also Frida in New York. All around the dress can be seen a vivid critique and ironization of the capitalist American world. It shows the degeneration of the society and the destruction of the fundamental values. A synchronic analysis reveals the play of opposition between the beauty, the simplicity, the colors of Mexican tradition, and the chaos, pollution, degeneration of the American society. In New York, Frida didn't stop to wear her traditional attire and despised haute couture. The writer Herrera reports she wore eye-catching clothes and preferred long regional costume to haute couture. She was making a strong impression wherever she went. A New Yorker recalls that children used to follow her in the street. Where is the circus? They asked. Frida Kahlo was not bothered by this in the least. We can suppose, after reading her diary and biography, that Frida started to wear the traditional clothing in 1929 for various reasons. To support the Zapatist Mexican Revolution as a patriotic message, to please her husband, Diego Rivera, who liked a lot the Tijuana dress, for fulfilling her search for identity and showing her roots influenced by her mother, who was also from Oaxaca. But also, this colorful, voluminous costume self-empowered her. The Mexican garment, accompanied by numerous and voluminous ornaments like bracelets, necklace, also give life to a body bruised by operation and pain, and which is almost motionless. The garment here speaks for itself and conceals the imperfection and debilities of the physical body. Frida played an important role also in reviving these traditional dresses. Some of them were no longer made, and she was promoting the Mexican culture and its textile wealth all over the world. However, she was not wearing the regional costume without a certain degree of transformation, and very often she was modifying it, using, for example, Spanish cotton fabric or Chinese silk fabric with dragon motif and giving it an indigenous look. There was in reality a mix of elements from Mexico, Asia, and Europe. Frida Kahlo stylized her Tijuana dress with the Mexican rebozo. Rebozo is a long rectangular fringe shawl draped around her shoulder and a massive string of Aztec beads about her throat. Her hair was also frequently braided and beribboned in the Tijuana style. The two Frida that we see also here on the right side of the screen, the two Frida is a painting she realized in 1939, just after her divorce with Rivera, and show again the play of dualities and ambivalence. The two Frida are the two personalities of Frida, the Mexican with her traditional Tijuana dress and holding a medal of her husband in her hand on the right side, and on the left side, in white, the Western Frida with a Victorian Edwardian dress of the beginning of the century. She's holding a scissor, which is the symbol of the cut of the relation with her husband, and her heart is bleeding, symbolizing all the pain of her divorce. The two Frida represent the duality of her personality, but also the fact that one Frida empowers and takes care of the other one by holding the hand of each other. The synchronic reading shows also the Mexican Frida as more compassionate, while the Western Frida is more violent at the risk of her own life. For Frida, the Tijuana became a sort of ideal and an instrument for searching for his origins, roots, and identities. However, we must also acknowledge that the Tijuana was not her only costume. All her life, she struggled in the research of an identity, which is in reality dual and multicultural as her birth. We can see also Frida wearing male clothing and short hair at some point of her life. But this Western Frida seems much more sad. And this we have also here behind me, the Frida with the short hair. So today, in conclusion, we can say that Frida Kahlo has created her own icon. In majority of her painting, she represents herself with recurrent element of Mexican clothing, roses decorating her head, unibrow, moustache. All these elements, which are the signifier, act as metonymy. A figurative reading of her look based on the approach of the semiologist and sociologist Jean-Marie Floch needs also to insert them in their context of the early 20th century as well as in the history of Mexico and also in our personal history. It shows a play of opposition between two cultures, very often represented through clothing. And it shows also her own preference by the use of the colors, her expression, and the other symbolizing element in her painting. The Western clothing is less colorful, kind of boring, and with no flowers. But her outer representation reads also as an opposition with the woman object. Frida, in her painting, is a subject, pure presence, with a strong feminist connotation. She doesn't represent herself as a perfect woman. Her attitude, her position, the direction of her eyes, her imperfection, like the mustache, facial hair, unibrow, her critique of the world reveals an existence in motion, full of question, contradiction, and ambivalence. So with Frida, we have just seen how the garment acts as a metonymy and means a wall. This garment is an active element recurrent in most of her painting to signify the choice of her identity, because it is indeed a choice and not an identity imposed. It is also a choice in time and not a fixed choice. She's going back and forward in search of other aspects of her identities. And it is an identity of a woman, activist, feminist, and nationalist. We read in her works much more than just her Mexican identity, but her desire to exist as a woman and minority culture against the patriarchy and dominant culture of the time that valued only the American dream. Thanks.